Good morning. Thank you so much for having me be a part of your show this morning. I'm excited for my voice to be heard in Michigan. Awesome. All right. I'm Tyrus Hinton. Professionally, I'm a property manager, as well as a campus pastor for one of the fastest growing churches right here in the RTP area in North Carolina, called World Overcomers Christian Church. So while I am bivocational in that I will work a physical job, then I go and provide that pastoral care to the members there. I've been married for the last 24 years. We're about to hit 25. We're very excited. Thank you so much. We're excited about that 25th year anniversary coming up. And we have been blessed with four children, three of which are still alive and doing extremely well. And recently, as recent as Sunday, I have become a grandfather. So this is totally, totally exciting. Absolutely. So, as previously mentioned, my wife and I, we initially had four children. My wife was so excited about me that she couldn't keep her hands off, and we had our first three children 11 months apart. So, the child number three, Terrell Emmanuel, he was born. All of our children were born normal. Thankfully, everything went well. Great births. However, when he was 16 months old, he was diagnosed with something called leukemia. Two types of leukemia that he could have been diagnosed with, which is ALL or AML, and unfortunately, he was diagnosed with the more aggressive one, which was AML. With the AML diagnosis, Terrell, he fought a hard, very, very hard battle for about 8 months, and then he gained his eternal healing after that eight months. So 16 months diagnosed, 24 months, he gained his angels, and that was 20 years ago. So when you're thinking 20 years ago, medication was so different, support was different, HIPAA wasn't as strict as it was. I didn't even think there was a HIPAA violation or HIPAA at that particular time. They were trying to experiment with some new things to try to get children cured and things of that nature. But of course, medicine has advanced so much over the years that nowadays you can pretty much take the placenta from the mother who has just given birth, which can then provide a cure to not only children, but even sometimes some adults with some extreme cancer cases. So that's what really led me to this book, because we recounted, my wife and I, after about our 10-year anniversary of providing support to other families and helping other families get through this, we decided to write a resource that would help people to get through the emotional part of this diagnosis. While you can Google all kinds of information, and the hospital does amazing jobs with providing you all medical information that you need, all of the practical steps that you need to take, there's an emotional element that needs to be dealt with as well. And sometimes they have caseworkers and family workers and people that are there to stand in the gap. But as with anyone, and if you don't, if you're not knowing anyone and a lot of information is being thrown at you at one time, it can become very, very challenging to share information or share your true feelings with someone that you don't know. So we just decided to pack it into a resource, which it just walks you through that first 10 days after you've been diagnosed, kind of to help you to deal with some of the norms, readjust yourself, and give a lot of the tips that helped us in the book. These are things that we really lived through, which we knew were effective. And the reason why we know that they're effective is because we're able to go back now and help so many other families. We've serviced over 175 families to date, just walking beside them, providing emotional support. It's very broad. There's no very narrow way. It's very broad. It can be something as simple as a car ride to the hospital, as to paying for a meal, as to spending the night so that the parent can have a break, as to just staying in the room with the parent because they're getting bad news and they don't want us to leave, or a diagnosis has changed. So I felt like baby steps would be a good practical day-by-day approach to a change for families. So that's why I really wrote the resource. That's kind of the nuts and bolts behind us and what we do, why we do it. We absolutely love it. Of course, there are some days that are more challenging than others because there are some diagnoses that are more extreme than others. But at the end of the day, to be honest with you, I wouldn't change a thing. I would go back and do it all the same and let my son be healed just as he was, if it means that I can provide hope to so many other patients that would be diagnosed after him. Well, in chapter 4 or day 4, I wrote in the book about erasing the routine, because just much like your family, my family's, we were the same way. Especially back in that time, my parents and my wife's parents are both baby boomers, so very task oriented. We work 30 years, we work hard, we retire, we live, we save. This is our norm, and we don't change that. And I remember the day that we went to his pediatrician. Then the pediatrician sent us to the emergency room. From the emergency room, they called ahead to the cancer hospital and had his room prepared for him by the time we arrived. And that night, we realized that our whole life and our whole routine had been erased, because we had planned to go to work the next day. We had planned to drop our children off at daycare. We had planned for things to be just as normal as they could be. But what this taught me was that sometimes life will throw things at you where you will have to just erase your normal routine. And what I was thinking in chapter 4, when I was saying erase the routine, life change, we realized in those moments that our schedules would never be the same. We didn't have any idea of how drastic they would change, but we knew that they would never be the same because we had to make adjustments. So if there's anyone who's listening, and even as I'm sharing with you, and your parents, I'm sure they're aging just like my parents are aging, our routines are going to change whether we want them to or not. The best thing we can do is embrace the idea that our routines are going to change. Our routines are going to change, whether we like them to or not. And then embracing this change means that we're going to have to involve some family members that we hadn't planned on involving. Then we're going to have to involve some of those family members who are not blood family, but they're family. Those cousins that are not really your cousins, but they've been a part of your life the whole time. You grew up in the same neighborhood together. You played baseball together. You played football together. You participated in all kinds of activities. You went to the same grade schools. All of that stuff, those are the ones that will then have to actually get involved and help you establish a whole new routine, which sometimes creating a new routine will help you to get more joy out of the situation than you will the sorrow that comes along with it. So, well, I did a little bit of studying prior to us talking on the radio. Just something I had been kind of looking up because I was interested. Believe it or not, 80% of couples will divorce after the loss of a child. 16% of those couples will stay together but not divorce. These are older statistics, but they're very vital because it shows you that the stress of this, if not careful, and you don't have any type of resource to help you, you won't be able to survive it. My wife and I had established something. We were high school sweethearts. We dated through high school. We married right after her first year of college, my first year of Bible college. We married right after that, and then we started our family. And we established as boyfriend and girlfriend. I don't know if they even say that anymore, but boyfriend and girlfriend, we said it's us against the world. That's just been our motto the whole time. It's us against the world. So if our family got involved and came to visit, that was great, but it was us against the world. It was the two of us. We had to go back to back every appointment. We had to go back to back in every room. When I'm saying back to back, when I was resting, she was watching. When she was watching, I was resting. That kind of thing back to back, we really made sure that our connection was strong. One thing I can say is my support system, at that time, Terrell's godparents were extremely helpful. They would come and sit at the hospital. The nursing staff, till this day, they remember us, and we'll be going back there in September to do a big commemorative event for them with about 600 families. But they were just so blown away by the idea that we were a young family dealing with such a traumatic experience and stressful experience, but we never lost the light in our eyes for one another. And part of that is because we realized that we didn't have anyone else other than one another. People helped us. And when I'm saying they helped us, they would come, they would sit with Tyrell, they would spend some time with him, but that would allow us to go take the other children to maybe Adventure Landing, or we take the other children to a place called Adventure World in New York, where you'd be able to, it's like a great adventure where you can rides and stuff like that. And then there were times when the grandparents, my mom or her mom, would step in and they would keep the children for us, my other two children, so that my wife and I can have time for us, so that we can make time for us. I think what's extremely important for families, especially now being diagnosed, and I talk about it when I'm visiting with families and maybe having these interviews at different times, I'm always talking about the need to remain connected, the need to keep your marriage fresh, the need to keep your relationship sharp, because if not, the stress of such a major diagnosis can really make you walk away. It can really make you think, man, we're not going to make it. And depending on where your faith is, faith has been a major factor for my wife and I. Not just church, but faith. Our faith in God, our trust in God, our belief in God that He had really given us the strength and that He wouldn't put any more on us that we could bear. So that was a huge, huge, huge factor in us remaining together, which is why this year, for our 25 years, we've gone out of the country, we've gone away, but we've never gone away during our anniversary because it's always been Christmas time, and we've placed our focus on the children. But this year we said, nope, this year we're going away during Christmas time. The children are grown, and I told them, Mommy and Dad just need to go away and have fun. We're not doing a bigger vow renewal. We're not inviting 100 people. We're not doing anything. We're going to take that money and go enjoy ourselves because we don't know what crisis will be faced next. I was diagnosed with cancer myself in 2017. I had cancer in my small intestine, and that was another crisis and a stressful time. But we had already built a resistance, if you will. We had already built enough, trying to find the correct word, but just enough love and enough care and concern with one another that we knew that this was a battle that we could fight. We had already buried one of our children. We can fight any more battles that have come our way. So I hope that answers your question and maybe any of the other listeners to know that if you are terminally diagnosed, because remember, part of our vows are in sickness and in health until death do us part. So it's a covenant that we have with God, honoring our covenant with God, but then our commitment to one another. And my commitment is I'm with you until death do us part. And her commitment to me is exactly the same. And we take that so seriously. Well, definitely they can go to babystepstobook.com. You'll be able to grab a copy there. I'll sign it. I'll send it to you. If there's any listeners that are listening right now, I have 10 copies that are right here sitting at my desk, and I'm ready to actually send them to anyone who would just reach out to me for free. You can connect with me at tyrusjhinton.com. You can also see how Baby Steps has been instrumental in establishing the Hinton Cares Foundation. All of the proceeds from the Baby Steps books that we sell take care of every initiative that we push through the Hinton Cares Foundation. You can visit hintoncaresfoundation.com. It tells you what we do, who we are, what causes we support. But then I'm on social media. I'm on Facebook as Tyrus Hinton. I'm on Instagram as Tyrus Hinton. I am on Twitter as Tyrus Hinton. Everything is still the same. My name is really how you'll find me. But more importantly, those of you who are listening, if you feel like you're diagnosed with anything, it's not just limited to the death of a child, but it's limited to any diagnosis. Maybe you found out, maybe someone's listening found out they have diabetes. Maybe there's someone who's listening found out they have congestive heart failure. Maybe there's someone who's listening who found out they're entering into the early stages of renal failure. Or maybe you're like me and you got that call from the doctor and there's some form of cancer that you're being diagnosed with. I would be more than happy to send this resource to you. That's why we exist, to make sure that we help you take those baby steps until you can take those big steps on your own. TyrusJHinton.com, babystepstobook.com, HintonCaresFoundation.com. You're able to find us at any of those locations. It's been my pleasure. Thank you so much. I hope to talk again soon. To all of you listeners, thank you. Have a wonderful weekend. Stay hydrated and be blessed.